13 times and went on a 9-year postseason victory drought. The divisional round of the NFL playoffs are set. It starts Saturday at 1:30 on CBS with the Bills at the Broncos. As of right now, Denver favored by 1. At 5 on Saturday, 49ers at the Seahawks on Fox. Seattle favored by 7.5. The two teams split the season series with Seattle winning Week 18 at Levi's Stadium. Sunday at noon on ABC, Texans at the Patriots. New England favored by 3. And at 3:30 on NBC Sunday, Rams at the Bears. LA is favored by 4. The Trailblazers are on the road tonight. They meet the Warriors. Tip-off at 8. Chris Burkhardt will have game day at 6. Denny Avdia will not play due to a strained back. Portland is 3-0 against Golden State on the year. And listen to me Friday for your chance to win a 4-pack of tickets for the Coors Light Silver Seats against the Heat on the 22nd. Coors Light, choose chill. Please drink responsibly.
Live from the Coors Light Studios, it's time for the Rip City Drive, hosted by the crazy and often irrational Chad Doing. Coors Light, mountain cold refreshment. Choose chill.
Is he a candidate here? Holy Mike, wouldn't that be awesome? Only if John takes the Pittsburgh job. Wow, wouldn't that be interesting? I don't know, that thing last week, maybe disqualified him for my opening after our kicker missed a kick to let them advance. Good for Mike. Yeah, I don't know. Talk to him. I love Mike. I mean, I've admired Mike for 18 years, and that's really shocking that he did it that way. But yeah, that's kind of crazy.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Chad Doing starts now.
All right, what's going on, my friends? Rip City Drive, so many things to talk about. Alex Brink, former Coug, and our college football and NFL insider from E4 Sports, going to join me here in 20 minutes. And then at 4:20, PGA David Coleman. We're not going to talk so much golf, but he grew up and spent a lot of his life in Buffalo. He's a huge Bills fan, so we'll do a little sneak peek at the Broncos and Bills, which will kick off Saturday at 1:30. It's also a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, so I will have tickets to give away on the show today. So all you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. We got tickets for the Hawks and the Lakers coming up at Moda Center. Brendan Slaughter is with me, and you can reach out to the show right now at 503-248-0620. Now, tonight's tip-off is unfortunately an 8 o'clock tip down at Chase Center in San Francisco. Warriors and Trailblazers. Right now, Portland is 3-0 on the season against Golden State. But tonight is no Denny Avdia. He's out with that strained back. He came up lame with 52 seconds to go in that game against the Knicks on Sunday. And I've wondered what it might look like if Denny Avdia was not on the floor, because I would make the argument he's as valuable to the Trailblazers this year as any other star player in the league is to their team. I don't care who you pick. There's no question in my mind that Denny Avdia is, he's everything. He's the straw that stirs the drink for the Trailblazers, and no Denny. So it'll be interesting. I would put Shaedon Sharpe in that primary facilitator role with the ball in his hands and let him be a decision maker. Obviously, it helps to have Drew Holiday back. I know Jeremy Grant's not far away from a return, which is helpful. But for Denny Avdia, they can't survive long without him. But I don't expect him to be gone for a long time. My best guess right now with Denny would be this week. They've got 4 games tonight, Thursday, back-to-back games on Saturday and Sunday, and then they have 3 days off to start next week on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I would give him the entire week off, and then he gets the bonus 3 days of next week. That'd be, 10 days? Give him 10 days off. Let him get some rest. I mean, the guy's been carrying an incredible load, and let's just make sure he's 100%. But there's no update or timeline on how long he is going to be out. So Warriors, Trailblazers, tip-off at 8 tonight. We got Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday with tickets for the Lakers and the Hawks. And on Friday, all you have to do is listen to me for your chance to win. I'm going to give away a 4-pack of tickets, courtesy of Coors Light, for the Coors Light Silver Seats for the game against the Heat coming up, I believe, on January 22nd. And the Silver Seats, you've probably seen the area if you're at Moda Center. You're in your own area with these giant, cushy captain's-type chairs, and you're sitting at your own booth where you have a phone charger for all 4 people. You've got cold rail technology, so you drop your Coors Light into the cold rail technology, and it keeps your beverage chilled throughout the entire game. And it's a great way for you to enjoy. So we're going to give those away on Friday. So jump on board. And it's great to have you. We want to talk a lot of football. I'm still surprised, I guess, after 19 years, Mike Tomlin has ended his tenure with the Steelers. And in my lifetime, with all the different teams that we've seen in sports that have constant turnover, in my life, the Steelers, and I'm 50 years old now, 3 head coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin. They are a family-run operation from the Rooney family. They do things a certain way, and I just love the stability of that franchise. Mike Tomlin, wildly successful, won a championship, went to the playoffs 13 times, but a 9-year playoff victory drought. So there you have it. All right, before we dive in, let's go out to the phone. Zachary in Vancouver wants to chat. Zach, I appreciate the phone call. You're up on the Rip City Drive. What's on your mind?
Hey, Chad, how you doing, buddy?
Fabulous.
It's been a while.
What's going on with you?
I'm wanting to golf today, but I can't. So hopefully this week, maybe.
Yeah. Well, this week I believe we're going to have dry weather. So if you're looking to get some January golf in, this will be the week to do it here in the Northwest.
Definitely. Bucket list is to golf with you someday. The reason I called is I'm really excited about the Blazers. I was there on Sunday. C. Love played awesome. Good to see what Drew Holiday on the floor was pretty amazing. What I want to do, though, is I want to kind of put Portland and Trailblazers fans on blast, because the amount of fans that were in the Moda Center was disgusting to me. We definitely could have been the difference in that game, but I saw too many empty seats. I want just to put everyone on notice that this is the year to start getting excited again. This is the team that is going to be the building block to something great, especially when we get all our players back. The fact that we got Caleb Love on a two-way, like no draft, Blake Wesley. This is one of the most exciting teams that I've ever seen. I've been here my whole life. And I just want to get everyone in Portland needs to start getting excited, because I personally feel it wasn't the Blazers who lost that game. It was the fans on Sunday. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate
Good
the phone
talking
call.
to you.
Yeah, there were a lot of Knick fans there on Sunday. It was annoying to see the Knick fans. They show up strong. They've got a strong contingency, as do the Warriors and Lakers. Of course, the Warrior fans and Laker fans are basically the same group of people. They're all fake. Knick fans are legit. Even East Coast Earl showed up with his Knick gear on to cheer on the Knickerbockers. Look, this team's great. I am thrilled that the Blazers sit today, 40 games in, 2 games under 500, with 5 rotational guys who have been out almost the entire season. They're doing a lot of good things. They have a star player in Denny Avdia. Shaden Sharp is developing nicely, and they're going to get reinforcements back in the near future in the name of Jeremy Grant, in the name of Scoot Henderson, and Matisse Thybulle, and Blake Wesley a little bit farther out. But the way that they've been able to get this group, the coaching staff, Tiago Splitter and his crew, to compete, to play hard, and to have to adjust the style of play based on who's available, and the fact they've been able to win games is impressive. This is a very likable group. Good guys, good chemistry, good locker room, and they play really hard. It's an easy, easy group to root for. All right, we saw it last night, the ending of the wild card round of the playoffs, and the Houston Texans hammered the Pittsburgh Steelers and won that game going away. They shut them out in the second half. The Houston Texans defense with 2 touchdowns outscored the Steelers offense, and they overcame a weird turnover-riddled game by C.J. Stroud. But it doesn't matter, because the Texans defense throughout the course of the year is the best defense in the NFL. And I thought a few weeks ago, as I watched them play and dismantle the Buffalo Bills, that they were a real problem. They didn't lose a game when Davis Mills stepped in to take over for Stroud, who was suffering from the concussion. They're on a hot streak. They had 9 straight wins going into the playoffs. They get the win last night. They are a legitimate threat to reach the Super Bowl now. And the New England Patriots better be working overtime to come up with a plan for how they're going to protect Drake May. And I'll ask Alex Brink about that. The Houston Texans are for real because their defense is legit. And if they're going to run the football the way that they did last night, forget about it. The Texans scare me more than any other team as a Bronco fan in the AFC right now because of their pass rush, their physicality, the way they hit. You can't run the football on them. They win first and second down, and before you know it, you got third down and 9 or 10 against that fierce pass rush. They just really suffocated the Steelers' offense, which wasn't dynamic throughout the course of the year, and they just had no chance. They couldn't move the football. And that pressure eventually caused the Steelers to crack. And the Texans took full advantage on a night when their offense suffered from multiple turnovers from their quarterback, C.J. Stroud, who single-handedly was keeping the Steelers alive in that game. But he made a couple of big throws. They ran the football well. Their defense is great. And that sets up an amazing divisional round in the NFL. It's going to start Saturday. My Broncos, of all the teams that they could have faced in the AFC, they had to draw Buffalo and Josh Allen. That's not a great scenario. Really nervous about that game. Denver right now is a 1-point favorite. That's going to kick off at 1:30 on CBS, which means I'll be hitting the mute button because Tony Romo will be on the broadcast. And he was god-awful this past weekend. Truly awful. Tony Romo is garbage. He was terrible. He was on the call for the Bills and the Jags. I've been calling it ever since he started. I didn't like the prediction of what plays were going to come. He's too excitable. It's almost like he's on drugs. The execs at CBS need to make sure that he's medicated because he talks over Jim Nantz. He's out of control, and he doesn't even make any sense. I think at one point in that game with the Bills and the Jags, he's like, I don't know, Jim. I think whoever wins this game could win the Super Bowl. Really? You think? Both teams are in the playoffs, and if they win, they advance to the divisional round, which means they're alive to possibly win the Super Bowl. Thank you for the insight, genius. I can't take it with Tony Romo. So he's going to be on the call for the Bronco game. Very nervous about that game because the Bills, offensive line's pretty good. They can run the football with Cook. Their run defense is awful, one of the worst in the NFL. Good pass defense, but they've got Superman. And if that game's close and it comes down to the final, 4 minutes and they've got the ball and they need to score, how do you stop that? So the Broncos have got to be well equipped to play and be ready to go from the start. Saturday night, you get the rematch, Act 3 with the 49ers and Seahawks from Lumen Field. Kyle Shanahan is a witch. He should be the coach of the year. They continue to take on injuries, including Kittle, who's going to be out after that Achilles injury against the Eagles. But he put together a game plan, and they got the job done on the road. Kyle Shanahan is a terrific coach. I don't know if they're going to have enough in the tank to be able to get over on Seattle, but it's going to be on Sam Darnold and that offense to do what they did in Week 18, and that's produce. And that means for Darnold, protect the football, be smart, live to play another down, and allow your defense to do what they do. And the Seahawks defense, with that crowd noise, should be able to be in a position to have a tremendous impact. Sunday, we're going to get the Patriots and Texans from New England at noon. New England right now a 3-point favorite. Coming off an impressive victory over the Chargers, a defensive-type struggle. I just don't know how they're going to move the football. And I don't know how they're going to put their young quarterback in a position to have success against that defense, which looked like a bunch of hungry wolves roaming around Heinz Field last night. And then the late game on Sunday, and they put this there for a reason, Chicago and all the Bears fans will be celebrating as they take on the L.A. Rams, who look primed to make a Super Bowl run. That's going to be a great game. They're a 4-point favorite. All right, we'll break down all those games. We'll talk about the Ducks, what went wrong, what does the future hold, what would Alex Brink recommend for Dante Moore. Alex Brink is up next. I appreciate your time. We got Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up next hour. 503-248-0620. Blazers and Warriors tip off at 8 tonight right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. All right, Alex Brink is going to join me here in just a moment. I've got the future odds for championship weekend, depending on the outcomes of the games coming up on Saturday and Sunday. The Texans would be a 1.5-point dog at the Broncos. The Patriots would be a 1-point dog at the Broncos. Bills at the Texans would be a pick. Bills at the Patriots. And New England would be favored by a point. For the NFC, Rams at the Seahawks. Seattle would be a 1-point favorite. Bears at the Seahawks. Seattle by 6. 49ers at the Rams. LA a 6-point favorite. And the 49ers at the Bears. Chicago would be a 1.5-point favorite. Now, in case you missed it, I want to play this for you. Eagle fans are crazy, and they start them young over there. Take a listen to a young Eagles fan giving his breakdown on what the team needs to do moving forward after that disastrous loss to the 49ers.
Yes, this was a huge letdown. This was my Christmas present, and I got a loss.
Oh, no. You probably would have rather had Cole, huh?
Yeah, probably. I'm feeling two of two things. A, I want A.J. Brown packing his bags, and I want him somewhere else that is not here. I love you, A.J., but, like, you can't make those drops in that game. And I also want Kevin Patullo flipping burgers at, like, the local McDonald's or something. I don't care.
Why do you say that?
Whenever he's an offensive coordinator, it's like he's flipping burgers. One side, he's cooking. One half, he's cooking. And the other half is completely raw.
There you go. They start them young there. That's how it operates. Let's bring on our college football and NFL insider with E4 Sports, former Washington State Cougar. It's Alex Brink back on the show. What's up, buddy? Alex Brink, what's up, brother?
How we doing?
Oh, fabulous. I'm nervous because my Broncos have to play Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It's like, you're the number 1 seed. Congratulations. Here's Superman. Unbelievable. Gosh.
It is. It is. That's what I was thinking about watching that Jags game with the Bills is, boy, if Josh Allen and the Bills can get through this thing, they are as dangerous as any team, right, when you get into this one-and-done format.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Look, I love the Broncos, but I'm not some type of crazy person. Like Josh Allen and the Bills, that's a serious problem. We have so many different things I want to talk about with you today, but let's start with this. You know, I watched that entire Bears-Packers game over the weekend. Green Bay completely controlled the first half. The Bears, they didn't force any turnovers for the game, which has kind of been their bread and butter. They went 1 of 4 on 4th downs in the first half. They're down by 18, and yet somehow, some way, they came back to win it. What did you think about the Packers' attack? What took place that allowed Chicago to get back in that game?
Well, there's a part where it feels like Chicago's done it all year a little bit, but, the Packers definitely helped. It felt like they took their foot off the gas to some degree, just not nearly as aggressive, particularly offensively. And then, when you play Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams in that offense, when they find their stride, they're really tough to stop. Now, all that being said, right, the Packers, much can be said about the Packers and the way they played in the second half. You have to give credit to the Bears down the stretch. I mean, that throw Caleb Williams made, moving to his left, downfield on the corner route, off schedule. I mean, that's in that situation. I don't know that I've seen a better throw in football in that situation with that much on the line in a really long time.
I watched that replay from his view, and I got to be honest with you, Alex, it's 4th down. If they don't convert, they lose the game. I don't even know what he saw that indicated he needed to throw that football, and yet he put it between like 3 defenders right on the money. I'm with you. It's one of the best throws I've seen in the playoffs of all time.
Well, and look, just from a very technical standpoint, for those that care that are listening, I mean, to throw that ball when your kind of chest and shoulders are moving towards the sideline to your left as a right-handed quarterback, and essentially throw it all arm across your body with that level of accuracy, like you said, and touch and the ability to get it up over defenders. I mean, again, like it is nearly impossible.
You know, it's so crazy when I watch Caleb Williams because I know the numbers. He completed less than 60% of his passes. I think that was the worst among all the starters in the NFL, and yet he makes plays like we saw in that game over the weekend. So I guess you take the good and the bad, and you just continue to work on the basics so he can get that completion percentage up. But I love his playmaking and his mobility and the confidence to make those type of throws.
I mean, how long have we been talking about Caleb Williams, Chad? Back to his days at USC with Lincoln Riley and saying that, if he can get in a system that can kind of keep him on the rails when it comes to his timing and decision-making, and then you let the creativity happen within the context of the game, he is a special player. At USC, little too much kind of freewheeling, had a little too much freedom to do what he wanted. And I think that really showed up in his rookie year in the NFL. And then Ben Johnson comes in, starts to kind of get him into, again, a space where he can play in rhythm in the NFL regularly and then make special plays off schedule. I think what you will see from Caleb Williams moving forward is an improved completion percentage because he's going to get better with his feet. He's going to get better with his timing. He'll play from the pocket more, and then he'll still be able to make those special kind of splash plays, more like what we see from, say, the Josh Allens or the Patrick Mahomes of the world, but they have the consistency also from in the pocket that Williams is going to improve on.
Yeah, he's sensational. So I know you're a big believer in the Rams. I am too. I think they're a legitimate contender. So what's going to be the key for Chicago to have success against L.A. playing this weekend as a home underdog?
Yeah, I mean, look, Matthew Stafford is not – he's too experienced, right, to go into, this type of playoff game, especially with Sean McVay, and not expect to play a four-quarter game. So you're not going to be able to get down early to the Rams and expect to come back and win. It's just not going to happen. They're too good of a football team. So I think, from that standpoint, defensively, the Bears have to be better. And then offensively, I really think this is a game where DeAndre Swift can really show up in a big way, right? He's been a big part of the offense the whole year for the Bears. But his mix of catching the ball in the backfield and his ability to run the football, I feel like the Bears are at their best when number 4 is really the centerpiece of that offense, and then they work off of that. So if they can get Swift going, I think that'll put a lot of pressure on that Rams defense.
All right, we're talking with Alex Brink here on the Rip City Drive. Now, they'll never admit it out loud, but what do you think the Patriots were thinking when they saw the Texans' defense last night? Like, oh, man, we got to get ready for that. Seriously, Alex, that was really crazy.
Yeah. I mean, everybody's been watching the Texans all year, and there was kind of a part of that game, at least for me personally, where I'm watching, I'm like, boy, is Aaron Rodgers going to figure out a way to do this? It's not clean. It's pretty messy, a messy game, right? But is he going to find a way? And then ultimately, obviously, the Texans defense just was too much. It's too much for just about anybody, in all honesty. And so, I think, for Drake May, as a young player, he's been great all year. But, the playoffs are different, right? And the sense of urgency and kind of the intensity of it can make young quarterbacks and young players in general, it can expose you a little bit, no matter how good of a regular season you had. And that's really what I'm looking for is what are the Patriots going to do offensively to help Drake May out? And it starts with, as hard as this is going to be, is running the football, right? If you can get if those backs can get going, if Stevenson can get going, establish the run, I think you have a chance. If this becomes a kind of a drop-back pass game for Drake May, if you get in second and long and third and long, that's going to make it really tough. That's ultimately what happened to Aaron Rodgers last night is got in must-throw situations. The pass rush is too good. An aggressive secondary ultimately leads to, big-time turnovers, including for touchdowns. Yeah,
2 touchdowns. They outscored the Steelers' offense. It's very simple. I've watched him play, and, running the football, I agree. That's the way you got to do it. But the problem is they're so good against the run. You look up, they win first and second down, and it's 3rd down and 9. And you're like, we have no chance.
Yeah, it's very true. And that's, I think the way you can combat that is you treat the screen game a little bit like the run game. Right?
Yes.
It's an extension of the run. And so utilizing, your screens to, what I think is a young but talented group of wide receivers for the Patriots, trying to utilize some of that perimeter speed and then, mix that in with the run. You can win, like you said, on first and second down and stay ahead of the change. If you're in third and medium, you're going to have a chance because Drake May can extend with his feet. You've got, again, like you said, you got a good mix of young wide receiver and veteran wide receiver talent, along with some decent backs and tight ends. So, like, third and medium is a doable down in distance. Third and long becomes a problem.
All right, Alex, I'm going to be honest with you. Ever since the Chargers lost, I have been gripping because I knew the Broncos were going to face Josh Allen and the Bills. So, how do they get it done? How do they get past Superman to move on to the AFC title game?
Well, yeah, I mean, when you think about Josh Allen and where he's at his best, obviously it's his ability to extend plays, right, and find a way to impact receivers downfield. But I think what people forget is that with a really talented back like James Cook, they can kill you in play action pass too. And so that's really, to me, what happened to the Jaguars is big passes to my guy Brandon Cooks downfield became a real problem for that Jaguars defense that I don't think they were really ready for. And so, for the Broncos who have been solid on defense all year, they got to start with stopping the run first, as crazy as that sounds when you're playing Josh Allen. But if you can stop the run, you can make Josh Allen and that offense be a little bit more one-dimensional, and you can focus on that.
I'm with you. That's the key, right? You got to shut down Cook and then put Allen in a obvious drop back pass situation, which would play into the Broncos' defensive hands. But Josh Allen's so tough. I mean, he was dinged up. He had the knee. He's got the foot. He hit his hand on a helmet, which you told me hurts really bad. How about that throw on the final drive that he floated down the football field, and as soon as he released the football, he got blasted, and he put the ball right in the money with a little English. That was amazing.
Yeah, look, part of the magic of playing quarterback at a high level, and I think I've explained this to you before, is that oftentimes at field level, you're making an educated guess about what you think's going to happen while taking a hit, right? Wow. And the best can stand in there and deliver. And lots of times you're throwing the ball as a quarterback and you think you know what you saw, but you're not totally sure, and you're kind of laying flat on your back, and you're listening to the crowd to hear what the reaction is to those throws. And that was one of those special moments where, anticipation, taking a hit, delivering with accuracy, that really guys like there's 3 or 4 guys in the world that can do it as consistently as Josh Allen.
Hey, Alex, you were drafted by the Texans. You've been around Kyle Shanahan. You know him so well. What about the job that this guy's done with all the injuries to put them in a position to where they can get to the NFC title game? I think it's the best coaching job I've seen this year. I'm blown away.
Yeah, you guys, we've talked about it often with Kyle. In my experience being around him, even as a young coordinator, he had really a next level understanding of mixing scheme with personnel, right? And he would probably even tell you that, he feels like he can out-scheme anybody.
Yeah.
And, when you start losing personnel, obviously that makes it more difficult. But if he knows that he has his guy playing quarterback, right, and he has a solid running game, he thinks he can beat anybody. And I would argue that he's probably true. Or it's probably true, right? That's probably correct. Because as you can see with Brock Purdy and Christian McCaffrey, it doesn't really matter what – Trent Williams being back really helped too. But, it doesn't really matter what the other pieces are offensively. Kyle can kind of scheme it up, right? And then the real magic to me is on defense. And that credit goes to Robert Saleh. The defense coordinator is back. Right. Again, another guy that was with us at the Texans back in 2008 and 2009 as a young defensive quality control coach. Right. So Robert Saleh, Mike McDaniel, Matt LaFleur, and Kyle Shanahan, all on that staff when I was with Houston. And, Saleh, even back then, same thing. Dynamic defensive play caller, really could rally the troops. And he's having to do that with, dipping into his third string level guys. Right. Getting these guys off the street to come in and play at a high level is super impressive.
We're talking with Alex Spring, former Cougie for sports here on the Rip City Drive. I want to get your quick take on each game and how you think it's going to play out. What about the Rams at the Bears? How do you see the game playing out?
Yeah, again, you talked about kind of Rams having to go on the road. It's going to be a really tough matchup. I believe it's going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be high scoring by like the Rams.
What about the Texans traveling to New England to take on the Patriots?
This is a tough one. It's hard for me to pick against that Texans defense. I think what's kind of happened all year is that Texans offense just hasn't been as consistent as they need to be, right? And they've leaned on that defense big time. I feel like the Texans offense has never quite found their stride. I think that becomes a problem when they play a really good New England team in New England. I think New England wins this one.
All right. I love that coaching matchup with Vrabel and D'Amico Ryans. That's going to be terrific. What about the Seahawks and the 49ers at Lumen Field?
Oh, my goodness. Talk about a heavyweight bout. Again, I think about this game and, thinking back to the Seahawks and, last one where the Seahawks really got after them. I have a hard time picking against Kyle Shanahan in another matchup. What is this, their third one this year?
Yep.
That Seahawks defense is so dang good. I don't think it's going to be a blowout by any means, but I do think the Seahawks win at home based on the defense, and the offense has been playing solid all year, as long as Darnold protects the football.
All right, give it to me straight. Bills at the Broncos. How do you see it shaking out?
Yeah, man, I'm not picking against Josh Allen. This is a quarterback matchup in my mind. This is Josh Allen, Bo Nix, and Josh Allen wins this game for sure.
All right. The Steelers, it's amazing in our lifetime, Alex. 3 head coaches, Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin steps down after 19 years at the helm, 13 times in the playoffs, never had a losing season, did go on a 9-year playoff victory drought, but this guy's well-respected. Just your thoughts on Tomlin and his run with the Steelers.
Well, just how about in general the quarterback, or not quarterback, the head coach carousel we're kind of about to embark on with Harbaugh leaving the Ravens, Tomlin leaving the Steelers. You got Mike McDaniel obviously getting fired by Miami. I mean, Mike Tomlin has been so good for so long. That is so difficult to do in the NFL. And sure, he's had a hard time winning playoff games, but having that level of sustained success in the NFL is so difficult. And he's done it in a way that felt like there's a lot of stability, right? There was very few question marks with his teams about kind of what they were like in the locker room, on the field.
Yeah.
To be able to command grown men at the NFL level the way he did, I think he deserves a ton of credit for that. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to the Steelers after he leaves, right? Both Steelers and Ravens, I understand why these things happen. I don't know that those two franchises will find the level of success that they've had with those two men.
That's definitely true. All right. I don't think either one of us are surprised Indiana won, but I didn't see 56-22. What the heck happened to the Ducks, man? Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, look, Ducks were deer in the headlights. I mean, that's as best as I can explain it. I mean, they were not ready for the moment, and that really surprised me. I mean, that's not what I have come to expect, from a Dan Lanning coach football team. And I think, I guess we saw it last year with Ohio State, though I think, maybe it's the same, right? Both that last year's Ohio State team and Indiana this year, those are really, really good football teams. But I thought Oregon kind of had figured it out here late in the year. I will say, Dante Moore's youth stood out a little bit for as talented and even keeled as he is. You could tell that there was something to that matchup versus that Indiana defense that had him a little wide-eyed. Also, that Duck defense, they were not nearly as aggressive as you thought they would be coming off that first win that they had. It was almost like they thought they would get on the field and have a chance to feel Indiana out first. But as you know, when you get in a heavyweight boxing match, whoever throws that first punch, you better be ready for the haymaker. And Oregon wasn't ready for it.
No question about it. What would you recommend for Dante Moore? Would you recommend coming back for a year, jumping into the NFL? What do you think is the best move for him?
I think he would really benefit from another year in the NFL. And it's not necessarily about him. It's more about the success that we have seen in recent years of NFL quarterbacks that have played a lot of college football, right? Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels coming out. There's a number of guys that have spent a lot of time in college that then go to the NFL and have had success in recent years. I think a guy like Fernando Mendoza, who's played a lot of football at the collegiate level, is going to have a lot of success in the NFL because of all those snaps. And I think for Dante Moore, you forget, because he had such a fantastic year and Oregon was so good, you forget that was his first full year starting, right? Mm-hmm. So think about another year of Dante Moore, full year starting in Oregon. It reminds me a little bit of, what Bo Nix did, right? When he decided to come back for another year at Oregon. And a lot of people were kind of like, well, you could go to the NFL. Are you really going to accomplish more at Oregon? In the end, yes, he did, but also he gained so much more experience through that final year.
All right, Miami and Indiana, the Hoosiers are a 9-point favorite. Everyone expects them to win. How do you see that game?
I mean, I feel like I've been dogging Miami all year, right? Like,
we all have.
I told you I didn't want to watch Miami, Texas A&M. I didn't think they'd have any chance, to win the previous week. But they keep finding a way, and it feels like that formula that Mario Cristobal has, wanted to implement everywhere. Oregon, Miami, with an uber physical offensive line, a defensive front seven that's going to beat you up, and then sprinkle in some elite skill position players. He's finally, I think, got the formula, right? The X factor for me has always been Carson Beck. Carson Beck, when he plays great, that team is really, really hard to beat. I think the Indiana defense forces you into situations you're not used to with their zone pressures, their aggressiveness, their ability to cover on the back end. This is going to be the toughest matchup Carson Beck's had all year. I think, unfortunately, that will be the difference in this game. Carson Beck maybe makes a few too many mistakes, and Indiana wins the game.
Boy, Signetti, he's a bad boy. I'm telling you, Alex. All right, you guys have a lot of good things going on at eForce, including your strength and speed training. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we have classes Monday through Saturday at all of our facilities: Beaverton, Milwaukee, and Vancouver, for athletes of all ages, male, female, any sport. If you've got an athlete that wants to get faster, stronger, maybe prevent injuries, get a little quicker, more powerful, every athlete comes in, gets a free drop-in session. You get a custom program for you. Our staff is all accredited, and we have just a fantastic setup for athletes looking to get better in their off seasons or in seasons. So check out eforsports.com. You click on the strength and speed tab, get to see all that information. You can come in 1 time a week, 2 times a week, every day. We got options for all of it. So check out eforsports.com.
Hey, can you and your team get with Bo Nix and make sure he's at his best before this game on Saturday, please? Anything? Something?
You got it. I mean, remember, we work with Brandon Cooks. You
That's
see what
right.
he's doing late in the year here. So we'll,
Dang it.
come hang out.
You guys are going to be responsible for a couple of touchdowns this weekend. I don't like that, man. One quick question for you.
I hope so.
One quick question before you go. It was probably Aaron Rodgers' last game. As a quarterback, what are you going to remember Aaron Rodgers as when you think back on his career?
He was just such an elite processor of information, right? Like the way he saw the game at such a high level, and he really was, if you think about this, Chad, on the forefront of these players like Josh Allen and Mahomes and Lamar Jackson, the ability to extend and create plays. People forget how good an athlete Aaron Rodgers was, right? He could get out and run and move the chains and throw off platform better than just about anybody. His mix of ability to process information at a high level and be, kind of the athlete at the position, I think was really on the forefront of what we're seeing now. So that's what I'll remember him for.
That's awesome. Alex Brink, former Coug, E4 Sports with us here. I appreciate it, buddy. Enjoy the week. Enjoy the games this weekend, and I'll talk to you next week ahead of Championship Sunday.
Looking forward to it. Have a great week.
You too. There you go, Alex Brink. Gosh, I love that guy. That certainly did not suck. Nice breakdown from Alex. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to pick against Josh Allen, Chad. Come on now. Like, I know. Well, why do you think I'm gripping so much? I mean, for the love of all that is right, please, Denver, please don't screw this up. I don't want to talk about it right now. We'll move on. All right, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday coming up next hour. We'll get a Bills fan point of view on the game coming up this weekend in Denver. I want to know if he's nervous or not, like I am. 503-248-0620. Blazers, Warriors tip-off tonight at 8. And it's all right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. I may have to change tactics. I spend too much time on YouTube watching breakdowns of different quote-unquote experts talking about the Broncos. Dan Orlovsky, the latest. I just can't take it. Too much stress. I love big games because the stress comes from knowing that if you win, there's pure joy, but knowing that the loss is devastating. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. No Denny Avdia tonight. Blazers are going to be in San Francisco to take on the Warriors, and they're 3-0 against Golden State on the year. But this will be the first game we get a chance to see them without Denny. I'm sure that's going to go well. Let's go out to Mitch in New Jersey. Mitch, I appreciate the call. What's on your mind? Happy New Year.
Happy and healthy, Chad, to you and your family.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I got a new, he's 19 days old, a grandson.
Congratulations.
He decided to come Christmas Day instead of the 26th.
Dude, that's awesome. Now, that's 2 grandkids,
yeah.
right? 2.
2 grands. 9
Fabulous.
pounds.
Fabulous.
9 pounds. And then a couple ounces there, here or there. Yeah, he's got the life, you know. He eats, sleeps, and poops all day, you know.
It's a good life. And he's got you to take care of him. It's a good thing.
Yeah, I think he's pretty good. It's a good start so far. These playoffs have been pretty good.
Yeah.
Really good. And this weekend, I mean, it's possible that all 4 road teams could win. I know you won't like that.
Hope not.
I mean, especially for Josh Allen. I mean, if he can't win, I mean, Denver's got a good team. He's a better quarterback. You can't argue with that. But the Bills, they were lucky to win last weekend, of course. This past weekend, of course. You know, Jacksonville always has to shoot themselves in the foot. Did it against New England a few years ago in the championship game. It's incredible. Jacksonville and the Jaguars, good teams, but just can't do in the playoffs.
Well, of the 4 games, which one are you looking forward to the most?
It seems like it's the Rams and 49ers. But we could have a Caleb against Sam Darnold possibility.
That's right. Did you know? I didn't know this until last night. USC has never had a quarterback from their school starting a Super Bowl. Isn't that wild?
Carson Palmer. No, really?
Yeah?
No, Vince Simmons. Well, everybody's always telling me that how many good quarterbacks from USC. I think later that's going to change. Caleb Williams, if only he can start playing from the gun, from the get-go. He always likes to put a lot of stress on himself, you know. Tell him to go hit the job market. If he wasn't playing football, that'd be stress for him. It's incredible. He's not that short. He's like 6'2", but he does have to run so he can see over the lineman there.
Yeah, Josh Allen's like 6'5". He's Superman. But yeah, look that up. USC's never had a quarterback start in a Super Bowl. It's pretty unbelievable. A big thanks to Mitch. Congratulations on his new grandson. That's 2 grandkids he's got now, which is pretty awesome. All right, Rip City Drive continues here on Rip City Radio 620. All right, big news from the NFL. Mike Tomlin has stepped down as Steelers head coach after 19 years at the helm. His teams made the postseason 13 times, but they went on a 9-year postseason victory drought, including last night's loss to the Texans. The divisional round of the NFL is set. It starts Saturday at 1:30 on CBS. Bills at the Broncos. Don't worry, you can mute Tony Romo. As of right now, Denver favored by 1 at 5 on Saturday. 49ers at the Seahawks on Fox. Seattle favored by 7.5. The two teams split the season series with Seattle winning Week 18 at Levi's Stadium. Sunday at noon on ABC. Texans at the Patriots. New England favored by 3. And at 3:30 on NBC, Rams at the Bears. LA right now favored by 4. The Trailblazers on a road tonight meet the Warriors. Tip off at 8. Chris Burkhart's going to have game day at 6. Denny Avdia will not play with a strained back. Portland is 3-0 against Golden State on the year. Listen to me Friday for your chance to win a 4-pack for the Coors Light Silver Seats against the Heat on the 22nd. I still can't believe Indiana 9-point favorite over Miami. Are the Hoosiers really 9 points better than the Hurricanes? I mean, the one thing I know for certain, I agree with Alex's assessment. Carson Beck's going to have to play well. More importantly, play mistake-free football for the Canes to have a chance to win. And that's going to be tough against the pressure that Indiana brings. But this is starting to feel a lot like 2002 when Miami took on Ohio State. We've seen this happen before where you get into these games, USC and Texas, where everybody thinks the game's going to go one way, and then it goes the exact opposite. And that's what I'm feeling here. Now, I respect the heck out of Curt Cignetti and that entire program and the way that they have played. They're the most dominant team in college football. But one thing I know for sure, Miami cannot be pushed around. That is a physically tough team, mentally tough. I don't know if they're disciplined enough to take out Indiana, but that line seems a little bit steep for my liking. Mario Cristobal's done a heck of a job getting his team in a position to have an opportunity in a national title. Plus, they're playing a home game. It's like the old days when they would get in the Orange Bowl and play a home game against Oklahoma or Nebraska. That used to really chap my hide. Oh, great. Oklahoma gets to play for the national championship at the Orange Bowl against Miami. They're playing a freaking home game. And that's going to be the case. Title game's going to be in Miami. Home game for the Canes, taking on the Indiana Hoosiers, who right now on paper look basically unstoppable. And, of course, when you look at the coaching matchup, it might be a slight edge in favor of the Hoosiers here. Curt Cignetti might be a little bit better at Mario Cristobal in terms of decision-making and game planning, possibly. But I do like Miami's interior play. And I have ever since I watched them play the first game of the year against Notre Dame. And the way they ran the football between the tackles and the way they controlled the line of scrimmage, they're a physically tough team. And when you play that well at the line of scrimmage, you're going to be in a position to win the majority of games you play. And they have certainly been top-notch in this playoff run against A&M, Ohio State, where they physically kicked the crap out of the Buckeyes. I enjoyed that personally. And then the win against Ole Miss. So it all comes to a conclusion on Monday. And once again, a horrible job by college football to schedule their games in the worst possible spots to where people don't watch. How about this, morons? How about figuring out the schedule so that we have the championship crowned on New Year's Day? I'm not going to ask you to do that because I know that'd be too much. You're too busy setting the sport on fire instead of making good decisions. But it might be an idea. Shorten the whole process, get rid of the stupid bowl games, and have the championship game played on New Year's Day. It's just a thought, morons. Just a thought. Now, the NFL playoffs right now dominant. And for the most part, this wild card weekend was sensational. I mean, great games. I thought the Rams in that rematch with the Panthers would dominate. They did not. One possession game. The Panthers had a chance to win, but Matthew Stafford making big plays late in the game. Not a surprise. Heck of a football game. And that took us right into the Packers and Bears. The story of two halves. First half dominated by Green Bay. They're up by 18. They're up by 15 going into the fourth, and then the Bears took over. And Caleb Williams with one of the all-time throws that you're ever going to see on fourth down in a situation where if they don't convert, they lose the game. And he throws against his body in between three defenders right on the money. He's awesome. That was a big-time throw in a big-time spot, and the Bears come back and get the win. The 49ers win over the Eagles surprised me the most. I just thought they were too depleted. After watching them get their head handed to them in that finale against the Seahawks, I was like, they're not going to be able to match up physically. They don't have the bodies. Even though Philadelphia's got their issues, they'll find a way to get it done. And the 49ers were the tougher team in that game, and they made the plays on both sides of the football in the second half that they had to get the win. That's one of the best coaching jobs this year from Kyle Shanahan I have ever seen. Somehow, some way, piecing it together with duct tape and chicken wire with so many injuries and getting this team in a position where they could be competing for a championship. It's very impressive. And Brock Purdy made big plays. And Christian McCaffrey can do everything. And then we saw the Bills and Jags. The Jaguars, they played well, but turnovers at critical moments and missed field goals proved costly for them. The Jags were in a position to win the game with 4 minutes to go, but I think we all knew when Josh Allen got the ball back with 4 minutes that it was going to be very difficult to keep them from getting a touchdown, and he did. Made a big throw down the field, had one of the most incredible tush pushes of all time, and now my Broncos have to take on Josh Allen, and it's a full-on grip session for me. He's awesome. He's tough. He's got the foot. He's got the hand. He's got the knee. It really doesn't matter. He's like the bionic man right now, Superman. They opened up as underdogs, but that line's been flipping back and forth. The Bills opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. Then all of a sudden the Broncos were a 1.5-point favorite. Now it's a pick 'em. So we'll see how things shake out. But I like that everyone and their mom is going to be taking Josh Allen in that game. Nobody's going to pick the Broncos. That's good because Sean Payton can use that as motivation throughout the entire week. Hey, guys, I don't even know why you plan on showing up on Saturday. You're just a mere speed bump for the Bills on their trip to the Super Bowl. And I would just play that crap up. Let them know that no one thinks they can win the game and that they're taking on Josh Allen. He's unstoppable. You shouldn't even bother playing defense because he can't be stopped. You know, the Bills are not a perfect football team. Neither are the Broncos. Neither is any team in the playoffs right now, for that fact. 49ers and Seahawks is going to be terrific. Bills-Broncos is crack. I like all the matchups. The Texans' defense is probably the scariest unit remaining in the postseason. They completely shattered Aaron Rodgers. That was not a very nice way to send him into retirement. I do respect Rodgers attempting to make a tackle on that pick six, but the Texans' defense is a swarming group of hungry animals looking to just rip flesh wherever they can sink their teeth in. They're crazy. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. 503-248-0620 is your telephone number. And in case you missed it, here's what Eagle fans sound like out of the womb.
Yes, this was a huge letdown. This was my Christmas present, and I got a loss.
Oh, no. You probably would have rather had Cole, huh?
Yeah, probably. I'm feeling two of two things. A, I want A.J. Brown packing his bags, and I want him somewhere else that is not here. I love you, A.J., but, like, you can't make those drops in that game. And I also want Kevin Patullo flipping burgers at, like, the local McDonald's or something. I don't care.
Why do you say that?
Whenever he's an offensive coordinator, it's like he's flipping burgers. One side, he's cooking. One half, he's cooking. And the other half is completely raw.
Love that. Ben Johnson, head coach of the Bears, he's crazy, dropping F-bombs and talking trash. He was asked about his comments on the Packers.
Ben, your F the Packers comment that you had after the game. It's kind of gone viral since then. What do you make of that? And I guess how much has George McCaskey maybe given you feedback on that, maybe embraced those remarks?
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, there's a rivalry that exists between these two teams, something that I fully recognize and I'm a part of. And yeah, I mean, I don't like that team. So George and I have talked, and we're on the same page.
In other words, George doesn't like that team either. I love that. I need more coaches expressing how they truly feel. I've mentioned this before. I hate coach speak. And I think Lou Holtz is one of the biggest violators of this over the course of time. He would always get up at the podium before the Notre Dame in their heyday was going to take on like Navy or whatever. And he's like, well, I've looked at the film. It's going to be a tough matchup. And then he would go out there and put up like 5 touchdowns on them in the first half. He lied. I want coaches to be honest. Like, I looked at the film, and frankly, we're going to kick their ass. That's why I like it that Ben Johnson's like, I don't like the Packers. They're our arch enemy, and bleep them. It's not classy. It may not be exactly what you want in terms of representing your franchise, but if you win games, it doesn't matter anyways. But that's the way coaches normally operate. They coach speak, right? Oh, it's going to be a tough game, tough matchup. They look really good on film. They see all this malarkey before the game when behind closed doors they're telling their team the exact opposite. And I love that. So, we'll see how things shake out. But right now the Bears getting ready to take on the Rams. And the Bears got to run the football, got to have balance. And if they don't turn it over, they should be able to make that an interesting football game. Can't believe the Rams are 4.5 point favorites on the road. Now, D'Amico Ryans feeling pretty good about his team after that crushing victory over the Pittsburgh Steelers last night. Talked about the defense. He thought it was the best defensive performance in the history of the franchise.
It was an outstanding defensive performance, one of the best that I've seen, especially versus a really talented offense, a talented quarterback who's played at a high level for a long time. So I'm proud of our defensive performance. I think this is the best performance we've had in our team history. So I'm proud of our guys for that, to limit the points, to take the football away, not only just take it away, but to go score. You get 2 defensive touchdowns, that's a big deal. It doesn't happen much, and so I'm proud of our guys.
You should be. The defense single-handedly saved C.J. Stroud from a burning building last night with his turnovers, and Stroud talked about his issues protecting the football.
We had some problems with the snaps. Me catching them, got to find a way just to catch them and then take care of the ball. We knew on tape that they did a good job of, punching at the ball or trying to, get you to, while you're throwing, get your throwing arm. So, I try to work on that throughout the week. But they make plays, and I think these games, the playoffs games, from my experience, they're going to make plays, we're going to make plays. It's all about, moving forward and, trying your best to, flush it and keep going.
Yeah, he's got to be better. He did not protect the football, but thankfully his defense is so good it didn't matter, and he talked about his defense.
Our defense has played like this all year. They've held us up, and I think, this is one of the best performances I've ever seen. It's crazy to think in the last 3 wild card games I played in, they've always had a pick six and like some type of 2 turnover game, So, when you have a defense like that, it's really, really encouraging.
Yeah, you think? I mean, he knows that he can go out there and stink up the joint, and his defense is not going to give up a friggin' point. The Steelers had multiple turnovers in the first half. They mustered 6 points out of it. And Aaron Rodgers last night after the game, bitter.
I've answered that a number of times. I've talked extensively about how I feel about Mike. And I just did in that answer, so. Thanks.
All right. That's okay. I'd be upset, too. That was a butt-whooping at the hands of the Texans. All right, when we come back, we'll talk to, I used to like him until this week. PJ Dave, who is a Buffalo guy, loves the Bills. We'll get his take on the matchup. I want to know if he's concerned. And then we'll get his take on the extensive measures that Brooks Koepka is going to have to make to get back on the PGA Tour. You got the Rip City Drive. Blazers, Warriors coming up at 8 here on Rip City Radio 620. All right, very happy to welcome back to the show. He is our PGA insider, but he's also a massive Buffalo Bills fan. So we got to talk about this big game coming up on Saturday, 1:30 on CBS. Unfortunately, Tony Romo is going to be on the call. PGA Dave is back on the Rip City Drive. So, David, how long did you live in Buffalo?
I grew up there, lived there like till I went to college. Then I'd go back in the summertime, and then I've kind of been gone for, probably 15 or 20 years at least. And I have some family that still lives there, but I've been lived there for a good chunk of my life, man. So I was there during the 4 Super Bowls as a kid with Jim Kelly and those great teams that unfortunately never won one, but probably should have. So I've seen a lot, and then there are a lot of years where they really struggled. They didn't have a quarterback. I thought Bledsoe kind of got a raw deal, and they kind of were in the wilderness of the NFL for a long, long time in that middle of nowhereville of 7-9 and 6-10. And they found Josh Allen in the draft, and what a player he is. I'd say he's the best player I've ever seen wear a Bills uniform, and he's unbelievable the way he plays the game.
I think he's sensational. Josh Allen, and he reminds me so much of John Elway. Now, David, how old are you?
Mm-hmm.
We're probably about the same age. I'm 50. How old are you?
42.
Yeah, so we grew up with very similar life experience. But give me an example of what that's like when you're a young boy in Buffalo. Like, you almost don't have a choice but to be a Bills fan, right? Because the Bills are huge there.
Oh, no doubt about it. Yeah, I grew up 10 minutes from the stadium. My parents had season tickets. My dad, with his job in the golf business, was able to meet a lot of players and coaches and personnel. My dad gave golf lessons to Bill Polian, who was a legendary general manager for the Bills, who obviously went on do great things with Carolina, and he won a Super Bowl when Peyton Manning was there with the Colts. So that was just awesome to be part of that, getting to meet players like that in a smaller town, similar to Portland, Chad, where you're not in a New York City or an LA or a Miami or a Chicago. Those teams mean so much to the fabric of the community that a lot of the guys have stayed there. That Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Steve Tasker, a lot of those guys have stayed part of Buffalo and Western New York. That's a really cool thing to see. So it's it's a fantastic thing. What they've done for the community and what the team means. In a town like that, because football in cities like Buffalo and Pittsburgh and Cleveland and Detroit, it's so much more than just a game. It's a big part of the economy.
Yeah, it's huge. How brutal was that as a young boy to suffer through 4 consecutive Super Bowl losses?
It was rough, man. There's no doubt about it. It was really rough because, you watch how good those teams were in the regular season and then even in the playoffs. Like, when they destroyed the Raiders 51-3, and then, you saw them go to Super Bowl 25. I was a real young kid then. I mean, but I looked at it like, they're so dominant. They had this hurry-up offense, which was an innovative offense at the time, and obviously everybody's copied that now, at the NFL and college levels and probably even at high school levels too. And you would have thought they were going to go there and just dominate the Giants because the Giants had this backup in Jeff Hostetler, and credit to Parcells and Belichick. They had a great game plan. The Bills probably should have run the ball a lot more in that game with Thurman Thomas, and Thurman had a good game, but if he had gotten the ball more, they'd probably win that game. The second one, Chad, I think they were probably overmatched. Washington had a great game plan to run the ball. They just wore them down. And the third one, we were really lucky to get there. Frank Reich had that unbelievable comeback just to get us, through the wild card round, and then he went on to beat Pittsburgh, and then we beat Miami, but we were probably not a great team that year, and we probably overachieved a little bit, with Jim Kelly's injury. And then the last one, I felt like having the lead at halftime, they should have won that one. So probably reality, if they could have won 2 of them, I would have been thrilled with that. But losing 4 in a row, it's really tough. It shows they were a mentally tough team to come back from that. But at the same time, it stunk because they had all these great players, and obviously it was a different time than Chad in the NFL without free agency and the salary cap. But the fact they never got one still stings as a sports fan.
Yeah, no question about it. Now, I think you know how Bronco fans look at this game coming up on Saturday. I'm freaked out because they're taking on the best player in the NFL, and Josh Allen right now. He's the best player remaining in the playoffs. He reminds me so much of Elway. He's basically Superman out there. But what about a Bills fan? How do you look at this matchup in Denver against the Broncos and Bo Nix? Like, what's going through your mind with this game?
Yeah, so first off, tons of credit to Sean Payton, what he's done there in the few years he's done. I mean, he came in, he inherited a situation that was really disastrous with Russell Wilson's contract.
It's true.
He turned it around right away. Incredible. He's done that with two teams now, obviously with the Saints, with Hurricane Katrina, and the Russell Wilson contract there. He didn't have much cap room and flexibility, so he had to really build through the draft. And he hit on Bo Nix. Bo Nix was a guy that played at two different schools, and he's a guy that, I think is good on the run. He's obviously a guy that's developing. He's not the talent as Josh Allen, but I think the coaching he's getting from Sean Payton is really, really helped him. We've seen, obviously flashes this year where he can really be that franchise quarterback. I think he's a guy that definitely has a good career in front of him. I think the comparisons to Drew Brees are very fair. I think the key in this game, though, for the Bills is they got to, Benito's had a great year. You got to neutralize him. And then I think the injuries that we've got at receiver, we're going to have to run the football a lot better than we did against Jacksonville. And I think Denver with Vance Joseph, he's a great defensive coordinator. You can see why teams are trying to interview him again to be a head coach. So I think we've got to have a plan, to really, I think, one, neutralize the pass rush. And then I think that high altitude, too, a running game is so effective. I think James Cook, Johnson, even Davis coming in a little bit, I think those guys have got to play a bigger role than they did in the first game because Josh cannot do it all. He's great, but you can't expect a guy to be Superman every single week.
How do Bills fans look at Sean McDermott, the head coach?
That's a complicated one. It's kind of like the way I look at it is Josh has put this team on his back. I think him and Brandon Beane are obviously guys that came in together. They've done a good job, but I don't think they've done a great job. And I think McDermott has some moments in games where it's like, oh my God, like he really let that happen, or there's some situational football where he's not great. I think I think he's kind of like in that Mike Tomlin mode of like Tomlin had Roethlisberger and that was the guy that got him the Super Bowl early in his career. And then it seemed like he never really had anything else to build off of after that, where I think with McDermott, it's the same thing. He's got Josh Allen, and Josh has bailed him out of a lot of things. Like that first game of the year, Chad, against Baltimore, he's making plays that are unheard of. Mahomes couldn't even make those plays.
Yeah.
So that, like, Josh has bailed him out of a lot of things. I'd be honest with you, Chad, if he had anyone else as his quarterback, not named Josh or Mahomes or one of these elite quarterbacks, he probably is somewhere else right now in the NFL as maybe a defensive coordinator. So there's no doubt that Josh Allen has had a huge impact on this franchise in so many ways. I think he's a big part of the reason McDermott and Beane and these guys have stayed there as long as they've been there.
All right, so how do you think the game's going to shake out? Do you think Buffalo wins? What do you think?
I think that the Bills, here's the key. I think, number one, they got to run the ball a lot better than they ran it last week against Jacksonville. I think you can't expect that kind of performance 2 weeks in a row. Denver, I think, has got a really sound defense. I think the key with a couple of these receivers being out is I think the tight ends have got to step up. I think Cook has to have at least 75 yards on the ground to keep that clock moving, and especially short yardage to keep the defense guessing. I like the Bills like in a 30-27 type game, but I think they got to score. They can't win a low scoring game, and I think too. The one question I've always had about McDermott, Chad, is the tight games, the close games. His record is not great, but I think the one key that the Bills have going for him in this game is Denver this year struggled a lot against mobile quarterbacks, and Josh Allen is a mobile quarterback who can really do a lot of special, extraordinary things on the run.
Yeah, there's no question. I agree with your assessment. I think the key for Denver's defense will be to limit the tight ends and the running backs, and I think James Cook is the key. If the Broncos are able to neutralize him and force Allen into a drop-back game, they're going to win the game because they had 68 sacks and their pass rush is fierce. But if they get balance on offense and they're able to have success with Cook running the football and they keep the defense guessing and it's third and short instead of third and long, then, yeah, the Bills are going to win. So I can't wait for the matchup, man. It's going to be a great setup. Both fan bases, both cities are collegiate-like in their support. So I think the atmosphere and I think the weather, it's going to be somewhere around 50 degrees and sunny. So the weather is going to be very nice as well. I can't wait for the game. Now, I do want to ask you your take on Brooks Koepka and the extraordinary lengths he has to go through to get back on the PGA Tour. What's your read on that?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing for the tour. I think showing that, number one, Brian Rolap, the guy who came over for the NFL, he's the new CEO of the PGA Tour. Obviously, the PGA Tour's had some reconstruction with Jay Monahan kind of moving out and Rolap coming in. And I think it's a good move. Yes, obviously, he's going to pay a financial penalty with the charity donation, and then obviously not being able to be involved with the equity, and all the other financial penalties that come with it, the FedEx Cup bonus pool. But I think Koepka's a real competitor at the end of the day. I think, the other thing he probably got sick of was flying over, to Singapore and Australia and all these places. And he's got a wife and kids back home in the West Palm Beach area. So I think that was tough on him, from that sense. And I think, he wants to be on the best tour in the world. And I think you look at Liv, Chad, I mean, it's they're not playing the best golf courses. They're not even playing anywhere near the courses that the PGA Tour is playing. And I think that bothered Koepka. And I think Koepka is all about the majors. We know Koepka's got an extraordinary record in the majors. He's never won the Masters, which I think he really wants to do. I think that irks him a lot. But he's won on some phenomenal golf courses. I mean, Oak Hill, Shinnecock, Bethpage Black, Belle Reve, even Erin Hills, when he won his first major. These are great golf courses. So to get ready to play the majors, you can't be playing these courses that Liv is playing that are almost like pitch and putt for these guys. I mean, the scores are very low, and they're playing, with music and under the lights and things like that. And I think Liv is, a fun thing, and there's certain aspects of it that work. But I think overall, to really be a competitor at the highest level in the biggest moments, you're seeing that outside of Bryson, a lot of these guys, Chad, really have struggled. Rahm isn't the same player. So I think Brooks Koepka just kind of took inventory of all that and said, okay, so I lose a little bit of money. I want to win majors still, and I'm 35. I've still got some time to do this. I'm much healthier than I was. Let's go for it, man. So I think it's a good move by Koepka. I'm looking forward to it. And I think Brian Rolap, at the end of the day, being that he was part of the NFL, Chad, we know how the NFL works. The NFL's not afraid to try things. They've hit on more things than they've missed. So I think Rolap is off to a good start. Let's hope he can continue that. I hope he doesn't do too much with the schedule changes, but I'm fascinated to see where he takes the PGA Tour.
All right, PJ David Coleman. Hey, I'm not going to wish you great luck this weekend because I want the Broncos to win, but I do hope you enjoy the game, and obviously I love talking with you, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Saturday, I'm already gripping, Dave. I'm in full grip mode right now.
It's going to be a heck of a game, man. You guys definitely have the coaching advantage. I think Peyton is one of the all-time great coaches. I remember a couple years ago when he was out of the NFL and he was on with Cowherd every Monday. He was so fun to listen to because he could break down the NFL as good as anybody. The player personnel side of it, the business side of it, the scheming. He's a genius of a coach. So I think that's going to be the one thing. If McDermott can sort of outcoach him, and then Allen obviously is, this guy that we know can make these big plays at any moment. If he can do that like he did against Jacksonville, I definitely like our chances in this game. But I think it's going to be a tough game because I don't think right now in the NFL there's a clear-cut favorite, Chad, and I think that's the beauty of watching these playoffs.
That's why we love the NFL so much. PGA David Coleman here on the Rip City Drive. All right, brother. Have a good week, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good, man. Thanks for having me on.
There you go. Yeah, I'd be confident, too, if I had Josh Allen at quarterback. 503-248-0620. All right, we'll come back, and Chris Burkhardt, I'll try to lure him into studio to have some conversation with him. What does he think about the matchups this weekend? He's geeked because his 49ers are on fire after the win over the Eagles, getting ready for a third matchup against the Seahawks. And what are the Blazers going to look like without Denny Avdia tonight? The great experiment. Like the one player that the Blazers cannot afford to have out of the lineup is out of the lineup. That'd be Denny Avdia. He does everything for them. He probably prepares the team meals when he's done with the game before they eat after the game. He does everything. He can set up the offense. He's been their point guard. He's great on defense. He's terrific at getting to the foul line. He can shoot the three. He's a super nice guy. Like, he's just everything you want in a basketball player. But no Denny tonight against the Warriors. Now, they are 3-0 against Golden State, and the Warriors have their own issues, too. All right, 503-248-0620. Chris Burkhardt's up next. And Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, your chance to win tickets next. Listen to me here on Rip City Radio 620. Well, we talked about this last week, Burkhart, where you were going into what was potentially the greatest football weekend of your life. You got 1 out of 2. That's not bad. The Ducks got crushed by the Hoosiers, as we all know, but the 49ers got the surprising road win against Philly. And that was the most surprising outcome of the entire weekend for me because I had just seen the 49ers get worked by the Seahawks at home. I just didn't think they had enough bodies to be competitive against a physically tough team in Philly. And yet, like he always does, Kyle Shanahan had the group ready. Christian McCaffrey made plays. Brock Purdy was huge, especially in the second half. And they got the defensive stops they had to. That was impressive to me. Big time win.
C-Mac is still one of the best in the league when he wants to be. He's filthy. He can do it all.
How about the catch? That was not an easy catch on the trick play.
No,
he had to look
was
it in
not.
over the shoulder and extend.
That's a man right there and knows what he's doing. Like Juwan Jennings too, a beautiful throw, put it right there for C-Mac. C-Mac just does it all.
You know, one thing I am happy about is that people finally are starting to recognize what I've known for a long time. Tony Romo's out of control. Jim Nantz has got to get him under control. I don't know if that's with medication or what he needs to do, but it's too much. I don't need Tony Romo, and he's going to be on the broadcast of the Bronco game this weekend. That's not good.
You need that what is it, Peacock that's going to roll it out, the ability to mute the broadcasters for the game. Have you seen that?
I love that.
I'm just going to start doing the Tony Romo to you every time you have me on, though. Chad.
Hey, Jim. Jim.
Hey, Chad.
Jim. Yeah. What was the deal you made? The Aaron Fentress.
The Aaron Fentress mute button. Yes.
Yeah. We need the Tony Romo mute button. You could just mute Fentress whenever he's dropping bad takes, and now I could do the same thing. I want Nantz. Nantz is like pure gold. His voice, he's been a soundtrack. He's part of the soundtrack of my life and your life. I love Nantz. I don't understand why he adores Tony Romo so much because Romo is always butchering and talking over the top of him when he's making greatness happen. I hate that.
Yeah, and I don't understand. Yeah, especially when you're Nantz, too. Like, come on.
Is that overhead light bright? Because you're squinting right now.
It is very bright. No, the cadences and all that stuff that you have to get into. Like, you got to have that flow. And
you're squinting at me like my Nana. Like, is that you, Chad?
Hey, I got my contacts in, so it's not like I can't see you. It's like that light is like directly at like a 45-degree right into my dome right here.
The spotlights are on,
it's
too.
The spotlights.
That's
nice. So you don't see them because now there's 3 spotlights in here. Not one of them pointed towards you. They're all pointed right here.
Dude, the one in the old studio on one night when I was in there alone doing Blazer stuff, it was during the game. I finally got tired of one of those spotlights, so I got up on the table and started messing with the configuration to move it around so it wasn't blinding my eye. It's like it gives me a headache when that thing's just shooting me in the eye the entire time.
Like, why do all the studios have these spotlights? Like, yes, we have YouTube in here, but we're a radio station. We could do this in the dark.
I just love the fact that you have raided the old studio and you're like, I think I'll take some of these panels. So you're going to create your own soundproof studio at home. That's genius.
Hey, I am, so I can get some podcasts rolling and do some YouTube streams, maybe host some shows at home. And like I told you, you want to have that flexibility, but you got to have a good sound area to do it. And I was just showing Brendan. I'm not done with it yet. I'm still building it, but like I'm in my garage. I filmed a little sound test. I'm like, here I am in the garage where my furnace is rolling, and you can just hear it going brrr. And as soon as I walk past the wall to my studio, it's like silent. I'm like, oh, this is going to be nice.
This is going to be nice, yeah. So Shacker's a trendsetter because he's the one that started working from home and utilizing all the laptops and the technology. Brendan didn't want to do it, but once he figured out how to do it, he's like, I think I'm going to work from home today. And now Burkhart's entering into the Shacker Brendan mold.
It was just my excuse to get handy, okay? I could convince here's the deal. I could convince family and friends to give me birthday money to do it. Because if I was like, I just want to build a place where I can, get away from all the noise of the kids and play video games, they're like, no, I'm not giving you money. But when I say I want to build a studio so my boss can let me host a show or two there, they're like, oh, I'll help you out.
Well, I'm jealous. If I told anyone that knows me real well I'm about to get handy, they would just start laughing. Handy with what? I can't build anything. I can't fix anything. I can barely utilize a screwdriver. I'm a useless man, and I hate that. That's the one thing about myself that I truly despise. My dad can do anything. Fix anything, build anything, repair anything. It doesn't matter. He's good with everything.
Well, I'm going to tell you, if the project took me 6 hours to do, and it didn't, it's taken me days. I'm just saying, in general, if it took me 6 hours, 5 hours of that was on YouTube. So let's just be real honest. And it wasn't on YouTube watching movies. It was how to hang drywall.
Yeah. I've even tried to use YouTube once to try and figure out how to solve the fitted sheet madness. it wound up in the same position it always is, wadded up in a big ball, jammed in the closet.
You know, I hate when you watch the videos of someone who folds like the sheet properly
And they make
like,
it look easy.
No, there's like there's got to be a cut here. Like there was it was a 10-second clip, but there's probably 5 seconds missing because somewhere you did something that you're not showing us. It's like it's magic.
Yeah.
Like I can't replicate it.
What do you call those things you put in your suit jacket with like I don't know what you call it, but those little things you stuff in the pocket?
The pocket square?
Yeah,
Like a
pocket
lapel?
square.
Yeah.
I did figure out how to do that. I watched
Okay.
a video on how to fold it different ways. So I was able to fold a pocket square one night from YouTube.
Yeah, back in high school, mom had to tie my ties. I didn't know how to
Yeah,
tie
me
ties.
too.
So I did the thing where I'd get home from like the music recital or whatever, and I'd loosen it up, and then I'd take it off, and it would just left it tied so I could just tighten it back up.
Yep. I know that trick. How rough of a watch do you anticipate tonight with the Blazers playing a game without Denny Avdia?
Oh, it's going to be rough. Here's the thing, Chad. So through that 5-game win streak and that game against New York, which I think even if you talk to Thiago, they played a pretty good game, all things considered, against New York. All 6 of those games, that was a 6-game streak of being below their season average in turnovers and set their season high for fewest with 9 against New Orleans. And it wasn't like their season average is 17 and they had 16. No, they're having 12, 13. Like they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
That's not going to be the case tonight. I fully anticipate this to be one of those like 20 turnover games. Even though you're losing Denny, who does have a lot of turnovers because of the balls in his hand so much, but Shaden Sharp not great with the ball in his hand. Caleb Love not great with the ball in his hands. They both gotten better, absolutely, but like ball handling is not Shaden Sharp's strength. So if the Blazers can keep that turnover number down today, I would be shocked. And if they do, I think they're going to be in a good chance to at least be competitive.
It might be a different story, like you mentioned, if Holiday wasn't on that minute restriction because he's, sure-handed with the basketball.
Oh, yeah, and you saw it in that game. He had a few little bobbles here and there, but rusty. But it was nice in that game against New York to watch Denny play off ball for a second because there was someone else you could trust to have the ball in his hands.
Yes, so that's what sucked about the Denny back tweak at the end of the game because Holiday's back. It sounds like Jeremy Grant's going to be back this week potentially. So he's close. So you're getting the guys back, and now Denny's going to be out for however long he's going to be out. What do you anticipate? Maybe the entire week, and then he gets the additional 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, so he gets like 10 days off? What do you think?
I think something like that makes sense. These games that are going through, I think you're going to get a stretch where Portland can win some ball games here. But the thing is with Denny and all these other injuries, you haven't rushed anyone else back, so don't rush Denny back just because he says, he's feeling good, especially if he tweaked his back. That thing can get out of whack.
You can't
real
trust
quick.
Denny. He's crazy.
No, he would. I think he would run through a brick wall right now if you'd let him. So,
well, who they got? They got a game. I know they got the Lakers. They've got the Warriors tonight. I think it's also a game against the Hawks in Sacramento.
Sacramento.
who actually is playing a little bit better basketball of late. They beat the Lakers last night. But there's an opportunity where they can maybe scratch out a win or two without Denny Avdia. And if they get Jeremy Grant back for Thursday, that gives them a chance too because Jeremy will be very helpful in the lineup.
Yeah, which I fully anticipate him. He was listed as doubtful. We saw that play out with Jeremy Grant, or excuse me, Drew Holiday listed as doubtful, didn't play, and then played the next game. But yeah, their upcoming schedule, they come home after this game for Atlanta and LA, then to Sacramento. I like that. Home again against Miami, Toronto, and then back on the road. A little bit of a bounce around here, but they got Washington on that little road trip and all this. So I don't see any reason to want to rush Denny back. Getting Holiday back is huge, and then getting Grant on the floor is going to be awesome as well.
This is brutal looking at the injury report for the game tonight. Denny Avdia, Scoot Henderson, Damian Lillard, Chris Murray, Matisse Thybulle, and Blake Wesley. And they've been out basically 5 rotational guys for most of the year, and they're 2 games under 500. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely impressive that they are where they are.
All right, big thanks to our Chris Burkhart. He's going to have Blazers game day coming up at 6. Late tip tonight at 8 o'clock down in San Francisco at Chase Center against the Warriors. Coming up next, the Section 113 podcast. Travis and I will break down the Trailblazers, and I'll talk to you on the network pregame show. Burkhart's got game day coming up live in an hour right here on your home of the Blazers, Rip City Radio 620. A big thanks to PJ Dave and Alex Brink and Brendan Slaughter. You guys have a good night. Enjoy the game. All right, it's a Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday. Your chance to win right now. We have tickets for the upcoming games against the Hawks and the Lakers, courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers and Rip City Radio 620. If you want to see the Lakers and Hawks, we'll take the first two callers through right now at 503-248-0620. I want to hear from a Blazers fan. Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday, 503-248-0620, 503-248-0620. First two callers through will have a chance to see the Hawks and Lakers, courtesy of your Portland Trailblazers, 503-248-0620. Call now, Trailblazer Ticket Tuesday.